who is in charge of the mainstream media, and the team from my office. We were appointed on the 4th of October, and we have been taking time to settle down. And today is our first detailed engagement with you in order to brief you on certain issues that affect the Kenyan society from the point of view of government. So I'm going to read a statement, and then thereafter I will call upon you to ask questions when Aisha will guide us on that. And we hope and believe that we are going to have a very good engagement. Press statement by Honorable Dr. Isaac Mwaura, Government Spokesperson, on the presidential foreign trips, national tree planting, and the cost of living during this media briefing. The Kenya foreign policy is anchored in a vision of peaceful, prosperous, and globally competitive Kenya, and a mission to project, and the word there is project, promote and protect Kenya's interests and image globally through innovative diplomacy, and contribute towards a just, peaceful, and equitable world. Our foreign aspirations, as enshrined in the bottom-up Economic Transformation Agenda Plan, commonly known as the Plan, is to make Kenya a respected and valued partner abroad in playing a leading role in regional and Pan-African affairs, to collaborate with international partners, to uphold commitments to the international community, and to expand Kenyan markets abroad. And please underline, expand Kenyan markets abroad. His Excellency the President is the nation's Chief Ambassador and Chief Executive Officer. The conduct of foreign affairs is one of the executive powers expressly vested in him. To recapitulate, therefore, Kenya's foreign policy is a prerogative of His Excellency the President on behalf of the great people of Kenya. Since his assumption into office, President William Samoei Ruto has stepped up diplomatic outreaches with various countries with the aim of diversifying economic ties and deepening foreign relations. The President has made 39 foreign visits, and we have hosted over 30 heads of states and governments. The last one being the President of Romania, who we had a reception yesterday. We have also been able to sign mega bilateral and multilateral agreements, further stamping Kenya's authority as a diplomatic power. So many Kenyans are asking, what are the benefits of these foreign trips? The President's visits have yielded numerous benefits for our nations, emphasizing our commitment for fostering international relations that enhance our economic prosperity and global influence. These visits have secured investment partnerships and signing of agreements, some of which include: number one, over 350,000 jobs opportunities for Kenyans to work in Saudi Arabia, and investments in renewable energy. Now you ask yourself, 350,000 jobs. Assuming you get a low-skilled job that would pay a Kenyan maybe 30,000 Kenya shillings, and you translate by 350,000 Kenyans, you can see the number of the amount of remittances that would actually come to us as a country. And currently, as you may be aware, we are actually able to get over 600 billion shillings. Actually, to be precise, is about 750 more than actually, if you go by the rate of the dollar, that is now coming from the Kenyans who are sending money from abroad. So if you have 350,000 Kenyans, going to Saudi Arabia, you can see how many households, how many homes will not only be supported by their sons and daughters working in Saudi Arabia, but also the amount of money that will also circulate in our local economy. And you need to visit Kenyans who are families of Kenyans who are working abroad to see the kind of living standards that have been improved as a result of that. And it's also a foreign exchange earner, for our country. Currently, the people who are in Saudi Arabia, by the last statistics, they are about 100,000. So if you increase by about 350,000 going forward, then you are talking about close to 500,000 Kenyans helping us to actually grow our economy and also getting jobs that we discuss here at home, which is really a great deal. The President has also held talks with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and a deal worth about 900 billion Kenya shillings. Now that's quite something. And it should be remembered that Rishi Sunak, the father, actually was born and brought up here in Nairobi. His Kenyan patient actually visited, the first visit of the king was in this country. So if you have actually 900 billion shillings worth of investment here in the country, it is going to be a game changer. And the biggest project they have is the railway city here in Nairobi that is going to revolutionize our urban transport system. So very, very impressive. The president has also been able to have Kenya open its embassy in Senegal. Now, what this means is that we have now a new engagement with Senegal. Yeah, and that means it's a new market for our products. People can visit easily, and Senegalese can also benefit from us. One of the most popular things that the president has done actually is to invite, Africans to come here without visa. That will be made more concrete going forward, and something that has become very popular, in Africa, and you could see even countries like Rwanda also taking heed of the same. The other benefit that has also emanated from the 39 foreign trips is that he has signed and ratified the East Africa One Area Network for mobile telephony with his Rwanda counterpart, President Paul Kagame. What this means is that when you are going to call Rwanda, it's going to be much, much cheaper. And that means there's a higher connectivity and also business and communication for that matter. Then Kenya has also been able to establish the Kenya-Djibouti Business Council because Djibouti relies quite a bit on our market, and also we have to do quite a bit on that. Remember, IGAD is there, so it's a very critical, outpost in terms of our business and market in Africa. The other issue is that the president has been able to sign various MOUs in trade, investment, energy, ICT, transport, education, security, tourism, culture, agriculture, and the blue economy with the Congo Brazzaville counterpart, Denis Sassou Nguesso. And one of the good things about it is that now there was a flight that was flying to Brazzaville, but it had stopped. Now it has resumed, and that means then we have more business opportunities. And further to that, he has also opened a resident mission. So there's now a mission in Brazzaville. So we have now proper, diplomatic relations in that regard. The president has also been able to sign another deal, a program, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, And this again is going to enable us to have over 900 billion actually. Over 9 billion, I beg your pardon, that will really help in terms of getting electric vehicles. And you may ask yourself why this is important. If you change your vehicle from diesel or petrol to electric, you are going to spend only 10% of what you are spending annually. So again, the cost of fuel and the efficiency is very important, and this is for buses. So we can see how it's going to really revolutionize this space. The president has also held talks with the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, and the whole idea is to have a grain bulk or hub in Mombasa. You ask yourself why? Because a lot of wheat is actually imported from this country, so it will actually help Kenya to host the hub and therefore distribute to the rest of East Africa. And of course, it will cheapen the costings because of the shipping and all of that. It is also very impressive that the United Nations Office for Project Services has actually picked Kenya as its national network. So over and above UNEP, UN Habitat Agency, United Nations Office for Project Services. And that's a great deal because it means we are going now to get the development dollars, we can call it that. They are going to actually increase. And also, over 129 billion Kenya shillings have been agreed upon by the Development Finance Corporation to fund Kenyan companies, especially the SMEs in agriculture and agribusiness. So again, a lot of money for private equity and private, enterprise finance that was not available before. And Kenya has also backed $75 million in terms of green investments. That's also a lot of money that would help in terms of climate action. And the Chinese themselves have also signed an MOU, President Xi Jinping, so that there is more market to their 1.4 billion people for our products. And of course, they have also cancelled all the visa appointments for Kenyans as a result of that engagement. I think that's a very commendable issue because you don't need a visa to go to China. That's one of the greatest benefits that we've gotten from this. And of course, the other MOUs have been signed by the Chinese. Then there is also the Huawei deal between ourselves and them, so that we can have, a transformation of our digital, infrastructure. So they are going to be really helping us in doing so. And Pepsi has actually expressed interest as a result of his visit, for President's visit in America, in setting up, operations in Nairobi. So Pepsi, of course, is the right one to call. So you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have had the benefits of almost close to 2 trillion shillings that have been sealed, in terms of MOUs. And you'll ask the question, then why can't the ambassadors do it? No, it's not that simple, ladies and gentlemen. You have to give that trust as a president when he is committed and when he shows up. The power showing up, it's really very important. And it is important because Kenya does not have a lot of fiscal headroom, if you know what I'm talking about, because we borrowed a lot. So we need to find other ways, through PPPs, public-private partnerships, and all of such, so that then we are able to leverage on new ways of financing our development. And I think this is very, very, very important. For example, when you talk about the funding of renewable energy by Saudi Arabia, we have a potential of up to 26 gigawatts through wind and solar. So we really have a lot of potential. That's why you can see going forward, the Chinese, the Saudis would want to see how is it that we can marketize this. Now let's come to the other issue of the National Tree Planting and Climate Action. Ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank all Kenyans of all walks of life who showed up, on Monday, the 13th of November, to plant trees across, the country. The executive office of the president was, situated in Nairobi, led by the head of public service. The office of the government spokesperson is under the executive office of the president, and we were able to do various stops in Nairobi, and eventually we ended up at the Bomas of Kenya. And I was able to find a lot of people, including school-going children, who are doing a great job by, investing into the future. So we must really commend Kenyans that they actually were able to do so. And it was also very impressive to see even the members of the opposition or Azimio also joining, because this is nothing to do with politics. It's basically a national endeavor. So that is really commendable, and Kenyans really want to thank you for that as government. Now, Africa loses about 15% of its GDP growth to climate change. Last year, Kenya lost 2.5 million livestock to drought, resulting to an economic loss of more than Kenya shillings 230 billion. You can imagine a family whose only wealth is livestock, is a cow, is a goat, is a sheep, is a camel, and now they lost all of that because of drought. So people have become poorer because of climate change, and that's how it's affecting us. Livelihoods are being affected. Yeah, if you have someone who is having a whole herd of maybe 100 cattle, and all of them die, of course they are poorer than the way it was before. So climate change is real. The resultant effects of climate change, like floods, like the ones we are witnessing right now, and drought, have effects on school dropouts, because people cannot go to school, as you can see, some of them. Wildlife, human-wildlife conflict, agriculture, and other key sectors of the economy. The Kenya Kwanza administration targets to plant 15 billion trees in a span of 10 years. That is to mean 1.5 billion trees every year for landscape and ecosystem restoration in the country. The program targets restoration of 10.6 million hectares across 11 intervention areas, namely rehabilitation of degraded dryland landscapes, growing of agroforestry trees on farmlands, establishment of commercial private forests, I must insist there, because you can make money out of it. Rehabilitation, wetlands, which are under threat, and riparian areas outside gazetted forests. So we are trying to cover new grounds. The greening of infrastructure like roads, railways, and dams, so that there are green spaces like in between lanes and tree planting for corporates, by corporates and ministries, departments, and agencies. And you can forests, in gazetted forests and water towers, establishment of bamboo woodlots and plantations, rehabilitation of degraded mangrove ecosystems, growing of fruit trees and woodlots in schools, colleges, universities, and other institutions, restocking of forest plantations in gazetted forests, and the establishment of urban forests, very important, even for our kids, arboretum, green spaces, and roadside plantings, including even plantings within our own homes. So that is quite, we have a lot of space to work with. The program has adopted a whole of government, whole of society approach, where all government entities, private sector players, growing, that is strongly anchored on the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, visualized to be a game changer towards achieving the objective of the program. During this short reign, the Ministry of Environment climate change and forestry targets to grow 500 million trees by the end of the season. The National Tree Growing Day, and please let me emphasize there, National Tree Growing Day, not planting, growing day, provided a significant impetus of accelerating the number of seedlings planted. The manual tallying as of 14th of November, that is yesterday, 2023, shows that the country planted over 150 million trees. So far, a total of 10 million 794,000 in the Jazamiti app. The government encourages all Kenyans to record the tree grown in Jazamiti app, and it's available on Play Store, to enable the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry to track and report for decision making. So 10 million trees have been already recorded, almost 11 million, but many more were planted. Like for me, that day alone, I think I planted about 12 trees. So you can see, and I have not gone to the app myself. So I should be one of the first ones. The Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry has mounted capacity building and skills development of MDAs, private sector and local communities to enable timely reporting of all trees grown. The ministry is therefore calling upon all stakeholders to support growing programs, tree growing programs, so as to achieve our short-range target. Further, all state departments as an initiative under the clarion call, Kupanda Miti ni wajibu wetu. So basically, one will actually ask, why are we emphasizing on tree planting? Because tree is life. And because of the reduction of forest cover, you can see the calamities that are happening, the depletion of the ozone layer, and the threats to livelihoods. So we must spend money on it. It's not a luxury. It is a must that we should do it. It is for us, our current and future generation. And I've seen people asking, so why then do we have another? Yes, because leadership is singular. You've got to be there and to show to the people you must lead from the front, because people follow what the leaders are doing. And the thrust, for example, our cabinet secretary would have is not the same like that of a county commissioner. Yes, they are there, but it's important to lead from the front, especially this being the first national holiday to partake of that. So I think that is something that we can always discuss. The benefits of achieving this target 15 billion far outweigh the costs that are involved. So let us not just be pedantic about these issues, because even when you look at this whole initiative, it is funded by other well-wishers and other corporations. It's not just the Kenya government endeavor. And also further, ladies and gentlemen, when our leaders succeed in providing leading from the front, they are also Kenyans. They are also drivers, they are also engineers, they are also pilots. They also benefit. It helps in terms of spurring the economic activity of the day, which also still ends up benefiting Kenyans. And also too as a worthy cause that invests in not only the current but also the future. Let me finally talk about the cost of living. The government is doing all what is possible to bring down the cost of living so as to give our people a comfortable and affordable way of life. And from the outset, I must say, as a government spokesman, that we appreciate and we stand with Kenyans, because the cost of living really has skyrocketed. That one we must say it's not easy for many Kenyans, and we are fully aware of that. Of that reality. This is so far. even as President Ruto's administration faces the challenges of saving the country from the unsustainable debt, or rather huge debt, now and in the future, by ensuring self-reliance in financing the national budget. When this administration came into power, we knew, and let me say this very categorically and equivocally, we knew what we were getting ourselves into. We knew we are going to inherit a country that was reeling from a lot of public debt, and therefore it left very little room for anything to be done without coming up with some new ways of financing. And the only way you can finance, the development is to reduce costings, which have been done by up to 500 billion in terms of budgets, but also looking for new ways of raising capital or revenue, because if you don't do so, somebody else will pay. We do somebody else's money that they have saved, and then you end up actually paying through the nose. And that's what we are doing. So that's why, of course, there are measures, the taxes, but it is a pain that I would want to explain to fellow Kenyans that we have to endure, because eventually we get out of that road. Because we are trying to rebuild a foundation. We are trying to get, and President William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza administration, the government has actually been able to do quite well in terms of ensuring that we don't sink further. It would have been much, much worse. So I really want to call upon Kenyans to vumilia, so that we really stabilize things. In the next 2 years or so, 1 to 2 years, we for sure will start seeing changes, because we have to take the painful, road, or we must take the painkiller, because we have a pain. But that painkiller is not as sweet in the north, and that's it. And it is not something that is new. As far back as 2014, I was on record, then I was a member of parliament, saying, whoever will be president in 2022, we have no country to run. That's the truth. So at least we are trying to stop. And that's why you are seeing the president moving from one country to another to find new ways of financing. Now, on the cost of fuel, as you will be aware, there were some changes yesterday, and these changes would have gone as far high as the 17 shillings. But of course, through the stabilization fund, there were some interventions. At least the increase was marginal. There was a drop, for example, for kerosene. So the government is really trying to do something. The Kenya Kwanza government is a listening government. The government has stabilized fuel price by up to Kenya shillings 19.82 per litre, resulting to a reduction in the retail pump price of diesel and kerosene. This price stabilization has cushioned Kenyans against the projected increase in fuel prices attributed to the rise of landed costs of imported fuel. Without this stabilization, petrol would retail at Kenya shillings 229 shillings, diesel 223, and 206 shillings for kerosene, saving consumers Kenya shillings 12.01 for petrol, Kenya shillings 19.82 for diesel, and Kenya shillings 3.64 for kerosene, and Kenya shillings 3.64 for petrol. So this is in addition to a raft of other initiatives, including subsidized fertilizer, whose price was reduced from 6,000 to 2,500 accordingly. So the reduced cost of fertilizer has actually led to increased yields, and therefore contributing to food security. And this has, in essence, see the cost of hunger drop from as high depending on the brand. So 60 depending on which brand, result of the government's deliberate efforts of subsidizing production rather than consumption. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be easy, because as much as we are doing this, we are also having a challenge of the dollar skyrocketing. Is almost approaching in 160 mark, and that has got a great impact. The inflation has still been maintained at 6.8%. The government is really trying a lot, and now you can even see the dryers, for maize have started being distributed in Eldoret and some other places, as we'll be hearing going forward. Kenya Kwanza is very keen to listen to Kenyans. That is why the Kenya Gazette that was trying to increase the cost of certain services at the State Department of Immigration, it has now since been revoked for further public participation, because we are a listening government. And I want to call upon Kenyans to continuously give us feedback. That is why my office of government spokesperson exists, so that we can hear you, so that we can have an opportunity, we are able to move forward as a country. Kwa wachache tu niseme kwamba leo ndio siku ya kwanza ya mimi na ofisi yangu kuweza kuwa na mkutano na waandishi wa habari, nyinyi ambao mmekuja hapa. Tuliteuliwa mwaka huu mwezi wa Oktoba tarehe 4, lakini leo hii ndio siku ya kwanza ambayo tumekuwa na kikao na nyinyi. Tutakuwa na vikao vingi tu, angalau kimoja kila wiki katika siku za Alhamisi ama kulingana na vile ambavyo itawezekana. Na leo tumekuja kukuelezeni kuhusu masala tofauti ambayo yamejitokeza. Kuna hela nyingi tu ambazo zimeweza kupatikana katika nyanja mbalimbali za miundo msingi. Pia tumepata soko mpya katika nchi tofauti, na tunaangalia pia mambo ya kawi na vile ambavyo serikali itaweza kupata ufadhili wa kuweza kutusaidia sisi kama Wakenya. Na pia ajira, kwa mfano kama kule Saudi Arabia, utakuta kwamba watu wanakwenda kule Saudia, kuna kazi zaidi ya 1350 ambazo zitafaidi sana jamii tofauti ambazo zitakuwa na wenzao ambao watapata ajira. Na tunasema kwa mfano, ukipata kazi pengine itakulipa shilingi za Kenya 1030 na ujumuishe kwa hawa wa Kenya 1350 ambao watapata hizi kazi, na pia wale karibu 1100 ambao wako kule, unaona ni kitu kikubwa cha pesa, kwa sababu pesa za kigeni siku hizi zinapatikana kutokana na wale wa Kenya ambao wanatumia pesa hizi kama wa Kenya wakiwa kule nchi za huko za kigeni. Na sasa hivi hizo pesa ni zaidi ya shilingi bilioni 600 na zimepita hata zile pesa tunapata kutokana na kahawa na hata majani chai. Kwa hiyo rais amekuwa akisaidia sana. Kuna fedha za kutoka kule Uingereza kutengeneza kama hii reli yetu hapa Red City. Kuna fedha za kusaidia tuwe na gari zinatumia stima isipokuwa mafuta. Kuna pesa ambazo pia zinasaidia watu wengi tu wale ambao wanahusika katika na mchakato mzima wa tabia nchi. Kwa hiyo amefanya jitihada kubwa zaidi, kwa sababu wakati tumefanya mwafaka wa kuendelezea maendeleo, kwa sababu fedha lazima tuzitafute kupitia mikataba kati ya wawekezaji wa kibinafsi na serikali. Lakini pia ni uchungu na tunakubali kwa pengine ikaongeza kodi hapa kidogo tu, kwa sababu ni aidha wewe ujitafutie hela zako ama uchukue za mwingine ambaye ameweza kuziweka akiba, alafu utalipa kwa riba ya juu zaidi. Kwa hiyo ni jambo ambalo tunafaa kulivumilia, na tunajua kwamba si wakati ambao ni rahisi sana kwa Wakenya. Mimi kama msemaji wa serikali nasema kwamba tunajua kwamba gharama ya maisha imeweza kuongezeka, lakini fauka ya hayo, kwa sababu ya vile ambavyo serikali imeweka mikakati ya kuweza kusawazisha bei ama kupunguza bei pembejeo, utakuta kwamba sasa Wakenya wameanza kuvuna mahindi, na sasa hata unga wa pakiti ya kilo 2 umepungua kutoka shilingi 250 230 mpaka shilingi 145, na hata maziwa imepungua kwa kiasi fulani, shilingi 60 unaweza kununua kwingineko, sio kote kwa shilingi 45 ukielekea hivyo. Kwa hivyo tuna matumaini, hata ukiangalia bei ya mafuta utakuta kwamba ingeliongezeka kwa kiasi kikubwa mpaka pengine shilingi shilingi 19 kwa bei ya petroli, lakini tumejaribu kupitia mfuko wa fedha wa kugharimia mambo kama haya kupunguza lile ongezeko, ndiposa Wakenya waweze kufaidi ili tusikuwe na makali mengi sana ya gharama ya maisha. Pia wenzangu, niseme kwamba serikali imesikiza sana tetesi ambazo zimetokana na kuongezeka kwa zile pesa ambazo zinatozwa zile huduma tofauti za kiserikali, na ndiposa lile gazeti especially lilikuwa limechapishwa imeweza kuondolewa, ndiposa Wakenya waweze kutoa maoni yao. Kuna wale ambao walikuwa wamekimbia kotini, lakini tusikie maoni ili watu kama waseme ni pesa ngapi nzuri za kulipisha ukipoteza kitambulisho, pengine ukipenda kukuwa na nyaraka za harusi na kadhalika na vyeti, mambo kama hayo. Na hiyo ndio Kenya yetu. Mheshimiwa Rais anafanya kazi kwa jitihada kubwa sana, na pia baraza la mawaziri, na tunashukuru vile ambavyo watu wa Kenya wamejitolea sana kuingia katika huu mradi ama mwito wa kupanda miti. Ni wajibu wetu kupanda miti, kupanda miti ni wajibu wetu. Na niseme kwamba Kenya inaongoza katika mdahalo wote huu wa tabia nchi. Tukumbuke kwamba hapa tuliko kulikuwa na kongamano kubwa sana ambalo lilileta zaidi ya marais 12 na wakubwa wa serikali tofauti wa Kiafrika kwa mkutano wa kwanza wa kuzungumzia mambo ya tabia nchi. Kwa hiyo tuko pale na tunashukuru. Tuliona hata watoto wa shule wakijiunga, hata wale ambao katika upinzani, kwa sababu ni mwito wa kitaifa, na zaidi ya miti milioni 150 iliweza kupandwa, lakini ile ambayo tayari imeweza kusajiliwa rasmi kupitia app inaitwa Jaza Miti ni kama miti bilioni karibu 11, kwa sababu ni milioni 10,794. Kwa hiyo tujaribu tuendeleze hili na watu waingie kwenye hiyo app waweze kusajili ili tuweze kuokoa mito yetu, na tunaweza kupanda miti hata katika kule tunakokaa, kwenye barabara, kwenye reli, kwenye sehemu tu nyingi, kwa sababu kuna watu wengi wameathiriwa na vile ambavyo tumepunguza miti katika ama asilimia ya miti katika Kenya, kwa sababu tunataka iwe asilimia 30. Na mwaka uliopita peke yake kuna mifugo mingi tu maelfu na maelfu ambayo iliweza kuangamia. Na unajua kwa nyumba zetu nyingi hapa, hata sisi ambao tuko hapa, ukiwa na ng'ombe unajihisi kwamba wewe kweli una kitu ambacho unakitegemea, lakini tulipoteza zaidi ya bilioni 230. Kwa hiyo ni jambo ambalo linatuadhiri tu, sio tu story tu za picha tu na watu kwenda hapa kule. Nasikia wengine wakisema kwamba eti watu wametumia hela nyingi kuenda katika mikutano ama kwenda katika hafla za kupanda miti ama hii kampeni. Ndivyo, kwa sababu kuna viongozi kazi yao ni kuongoza. Watu wakimuona waziri, wakimuona katibu, ina uzito zaidi kuliko kumuona tu chifu wa eneo kwako. Na hii ndio ilikuwa siku ya kwanza ya kupanda miti. Kwa hivyo tutaendelea kufanya hivyo na tuangalie kwamba tunaweza kuweka akiba sio tu ya sasa, lakini pia vizazi vijavyo. Na kwa hivyo hata watoto wadogo tunawashukuru vile walivyojitokeza, na tutaendelea kufanya hivyo vile mambo yalivyo. Kenya kweli iko katika shida tofauti, lakini Kenya ni nchi ya rutuba. Kenya ni nchi ambayo iko na maono makubwa, na hatima ya Kenya ni ya kuigwa na kutamaniwa. Kenya itasimama Kenya itanawiri, Wakenya watapona, na kuna matumaini makubwa kwamba hata kama sasa hivi tumesongwa na madeni, hata kama sasa hivi kuna gharama ya maisha imeenda juu kidogo, hata kama sasa hivi bado tunajaribu kuangalia ni njia zipi ambazo tutazitumia ili tusikope zaidi, lakini kuna matumaini makubwa. Na serikali hii ambayo inaongozwa na Mheshimiwa William Ruto imefanya mambo mengi sana. Kwa mfano, Wakenya wengi hawajui kwamba kwa mara ya kwanza tangu mwaka wa 2011 kuliwekwa shilingi bilioni 1 za kulipa wale ambao wameathiriwa na wanyama pori. Hilo nafikiri watu wengi hawaweza, ambao watu wengine wameelewa hata kilimo chao. Kwa hiyo ni jambo ambalo la kusifiwa. Sasa hivi tunavyozungumza, ukisema kwamba kuna walimu 56,750